checked my security camera and froze. The voices I heard were my own son and daughter-in-law plotting something unthinkable in my basement. My hands trembled, but my mind sharpened like glass, years of quiet endurance turning into steel. I picked up the phone, not to beg, but to document every word and set a trap they couldn't escape. And believe me, that was only the beginning of this storm. My name is Odessa Wynn, and this house has carried my name for more than 40 years. I paid off every brick with my late husband, and I still polish the banister with lemon oil like he used to. The porch light hums low against the sleet outside, and I know the sound of my own stairs as if they were the notes of a hymn. Louisville evenings in January cut sharp, but I keep the thermostat steady at 68, a pot of chamomile steaming on the counter, and the radio tuned low to WFPK. That little hum of music mixed with the wind off the Ohio River is the sort of comfort I don't take for granted. I'm a woman who keeps her affairs in order. My bills are lined up in a binder, insurance slips tucked beside utility stubs, and I lock the whole stack away like treasure. Some folks my age let their children handle the papers. I never did. Pride, maybe, or just plain sense. Tonight should have been ordinary. Tea, scripture notes, a text to my church friend about Sunday service. But something in the quiet pressed on me. It wasn't the kind of quiet you relax into. It was the kind that felt rehearsed, like the world holding its breath. Earlier today, a licensed technician came out in the sleet. He replaced a small piece in the camera system, recalibrated the recorder, and handed me a neat invoice. The green lights blinked steady when he left, and he even showed me the app on my phone where I could scrub back the footage by timestamp. I slid that invoice into my binder like muscle memory. I meant to call my son, Lowell, to let him know the cameras were running again, but it slipped my mind. That's age for you, not weakness, just too many thoughts at once. I told myself I'd remember after supper. I tapped the app, curious to see if the microphones worked. The timeline showed movement at 4:12 and 5:03, long before I came back from the store. Expecting nothing but the mail carrier, I pressed play. The screen lit with my own living room, and my heart nudged when I noticed coats hanging differently than I left them. Then a woman's laugh, familiar, close, a sound I knew all too well. It was my daughter-in-law, Mayless. My name left her lips like it was sour candy. I pinched the screen to zoom. There was Lowell, my own flesh, sitting at my table with his shoulders hunched. Milas's nails tapped against the wood, her voice sliding through the air. Once she's out of the picture, that policy clears in 30, house flips in 60, my son muttered. It's my mama. Her reply came like a slap. Debt collectors don't care she knit your baby blanket. I sat still, colder than the weather outside. They spoke in numbers. Zillow values, closing costs, like my life was a ledger. Lowell's voice wavered, but Mayless led the rhythm. Steady, practiced. I thought of the safe down the hall, the originals of every deed, every policy. Thank the Lord I never trusted copies. My hands wanted to shake, but I whispered to myself, Odessa, not tonight, don't give them the show. I marked the timestamp, snapped a picture of the screen, and saved the clip twice. Evidence matters more than anger. I whispered a prayer, backed the files to the cloud, and checked the breaker panel. My flashlight was where it should be. Pantries stocked, doors locked. Silence became my ally. No late-night calls to Lowell, no warnings from Mayless. They thought they were clever. I would be steadier. Then the lamp flickered twice and died, though the camera light stayed green. A click echoed from the basement, too deliberate to be the wind. My safe keypad beeped once without me touching it. I gripped the flashlight, every nerve tuned to the sound of the back doorknob rattling. 10 minutes after I pressed play, the worst kind of silence filled my house. I stood at the top of the basement stairs with the flashlight from my phone aimed down. My breathing came in steady counts. 1, 2, just enough to calm the jump in my chest. The lamp in the living room had gone black, but the little green light on the DVR still glowed, steady as a heartbeat. Outside, sleet whispered against the glass, tapping like restless fingers. From below came a faint metallic sound, like someone nudging a switch. I tightened the belt of my robe and slid my feet into rubber-soled shoes. "Not tonight," I muttered under my breath. "Not in my house." The burst came fast. A sharp pop cracked through the hallway. The lights stuttered, and the smell of burnt dust wrapped around me. Smoke curled up from the basement door. I grabbed a dish towel, pressing it over my mouth. "Ain't my first rodeo," I whispered, and pushed out into the sleet to throw the main lever by the meter. The cold bit through my sleeves as I yanked my raincoat from the hook, but the silence that followed was thick and wrong. I cracked the basement door. No flames, only a scorched mark and the bitter tang of melted plastic. I snapped a photo, then another, and a short video clip, evidence first, repairs later. "Document it, Odessa," I said softly. I set the fire extinguisher at the top step, nozzle pointed down, and cracked 2 windows to let out the haze. The sleet sliced in, cruel and cold, but it cleared the air. I looked at the time on my phone, 8:17. 10 minutes to the dot since I pressed play on that cursed footage. Back upstairs. I scrolled the recording again, this time to a spike I hadn't noticed before. The image sharpened, Lowell and Malis at my table, their heads bent over a sketch. Her voice was crisp. "Loosen the wire by the bench. Dim the stair bulb. She'll slip." My boy shook his head, weak. "It's my mama, Malis. She didn't miss a beat. She won't know. We call 911 after. Easy?" My stomach turned cold. They weren't careless, they were rehearsing. They knew my habits, my Sunday coffee, my Saturday laundry, every detail of my life twisted into a plan. I zoomed in on their paper and caught every frame. Screenshot after screenshot. My fingers didn't shake. I made sure of it. "I don't fall," I whispered. "I make people fall." Their words felt like nails hammered into my skin, but anger steadied me sharper than fear ever could. I swept the house. Deadbolts locked, chains set, stove cold, heater unplugged. I placed a lantern on the table, dimmed low, and laid out my keys, purse, coat, and flats in a neat line by the door. A flight kit, just in case. I recorded a memo into my phone, my voice even. 8:26 p.m., panel popped, documented, power off. I'm safe. Then I slipped the files into a double-locked folder labeled Sunday. At 8:35, a sound brushed across the stoop, too soft for sleet, too deliberate. I flicked the porch light once, then off. A warning. Plain and quiet, I was awake. The knob on the back door twitched, slow, like someone asking a question. My phone buzzed with a call from an unknown number. One ring, then gone. A voicemail followed, nothing but breath and a faraway car horn. I raised the lantern higher, shadows stretching across the walls. The house exhaled like something alive. My whisper slid through the dark. "I see you." When the knob turned a second time, I decided the next move would be mine. I stood by the kitchen archway, lantern turned low, letting the shadows settle where they may. The porch sensor clicked once, and a car idled in front before the engine cut. First came a polite knock, 2 taps, then another. Sharper, I didn't move fast. I called out steady, "Doors open!" My son stepped in first, shaking sleet from his coat. Milas right behind, her tote bag heavy enough to bend her shoulder. They glanced around at the dim light like it was a trick. My phone lay face down on the buffet, recording everything, and the DVR light stayed its patient green. I gestured to the chairs, the pot of lemon water steaming on the table. "Evening," I said, not apologizing for the dark. I softened my tone, as though the outage had rattled me. "Power's been funny. I must have pressed something wrong." I let a teaspoon clink against the saucer, moving with deliberate slowness. "Lowell, would you adjust that lantern? These eyes don't see what they used to." He shifted it right into the camera's line of sight. I offered a quiet smile, coughed lightly, and let my voice dip softer. "My memory's not what it once was," I murmured. In truth, my memory was sharper than theirs, but I wanted them overconfident. Miley slid a manila folder across the table, her tone sugary. "Just some housekeeping. Odessa. Keeps you covered. Makes sure you're protected." I lifted the top sheet, reading in silence, Clauses for contingent beneficiaries, tucked power of attorney language, dangerous lines, sloppy in places, but enough to strip me bare if I signed. "You brought a notary with you?" I asked. "Steady as ever. No need tonight," she answered quickly. "You sign now. We'll notarize first thing." My fingers brushed my glasses case. Buying time. In the reflection of the kettle lid, I caught the page's heading and snapped it with my mind like a camera. Lowell tried his plea. "Mama, this helps with premiums." I met his eyes. "You need help with premiums, or I do." The words froze him quiet. Milas pressed harder. We could lose the rate lock. I leaned back, voice flat. Then we let it go. I placed my palm on the folder. Legal papers see daylight. A lawyer reads them, then we talk. No anger in my tone. Only fact. The way Sunday sermons told you to mean yes when you said yes. I slipped sticky flags across sections as if marking signatures, knowing the camera would record the highlights. I pushed the folder under the lemon pot, just enough moisture to ripple the cheap ink. A silent safeguard. "It's late," I told them. "Leave this with me. Tomorrow. We'll handle it proper." I rose slowly, guiding them toward the door, giving the porch camera a full view of their faces. No hugs, no warmth, just a finger holding the frame wide for them to pass. On the stoop. Milas smiled thin and sharp. "We'll swing by at 8. Don't worry your pretty head." Lowell kept his eyes on the ground, whispering. "Text me if you need anything." They walked to their car without headlights, rolling back into the dark like they'd done it before. I shut the door, pressed my palm against the folder again, and caught a faint smear at the margin. Soot or panel scorch. I couldn't say. I photographed it anyway, then set the kettle whistling, letting the house breathe again. My phone buzzed once more, a calendar invite popping up. 8 a.m. Beneficiary update kitchen. By 7:45 the next morning, I had set my kitchen like a stage. 2 chairs sat on one side of the table for Lowell and Milas. Another chair left empty on purpose, facing the light. In the center, I placed a folder, copies only, no signatures, what I called one truth in the middle. The kettle hissed on the stove. The binder and notepad were stacked neatly, and the cameras had already been tested twice. The house was quiet except for the clock's metronome tick. I salted the porch, latched the back door, turned the front light on. Preparation wasn't paranoia, it was survival. I reached for the chain around my neck and let my late husband's ring rest warm in my palm. "Help me keep this house right," I whispered. Then I set our framed photo from 1989 near the folder. Not sentiment, but evidence. I touched the cool edge of the safe in the hallway, reminded myself I still had every original tucked away where no one could tamper. A folded church program slid beneath the folder, a little weight from faith and memory. I repeated the words I'd chosen in advance. Legal review first, we'll talk after counsel. If nothing else, I would not be caught off guard. At 8 sharp, the bell rang. I opened the door without fanfare. No greetings, no false warmth. They walked in, coats dripping, eyes sweeping across the room. Milas spotted the folder in the middle, and her hand flexed like she was already reaching for it. "The rate lock expires today," she started, voice tight. "Then today's the day it expires," I replied, pouring lemon water into plain glasses. Lowell mumbled about premiums, about streamlining. I asked evenly. "Your premiums are mine." His mouth opened, but nothing came out. I kept the folder close, sliding it an inch toward me. Not them. "It's Saturday," I reminded. "You've got no notary. We do nothing irreversible." That was when a knock came softer than theirs. Eudora Finch stepped inside carrying a casserole, eyes steady, no words wasted. She set it down and sat in the empty chair. I tapped my phone speaker, and Sabine Harlow's voice came through crisp. "Morning, Odessa. I'm on." Milas's shoulders tightened. Lowell fidgeted, tapping his foot against the floor. "We'll have counsel check the language," I said. "If it's clean, Monday morning." Sabine cut in, cool as ice. "No accelerated benefits, no power of attorney hidden in riders, copies only. Originals stay with the owner." Eudora wrote the time in her planner. every word landing like quiet thunder. I fixed my gaze on the folder. We respect process in this house. I said, that won't change today. I handed them a single page of my own, boundaries in writing, no unscheduled drop-offs, no after-dark signatures, legal matters only by appointment. Email disclosures to counsel, I repeated, and made them hear it. Miley's tried to smile through her teeth, tossing out phrases about family trust, but Sabine corrected her terms without hesitation. Lowell's eyes flicked toward the basement door when the furnace kicked on. I saw it, filed it away. When Melis reached for the folder, I simply laid one finger on it. She pulled her hand back like she'd touched a stove. There was no shoutin', no drama, just a wall she couldn't climb. Eudora closed her planner with a snap that felt final. I stood and opened the door myself. We're done for today. Monday, with counsel. Cold air brushed in, and they stepped out. After they left, I photographed the folder, texted Sabine with notes and timestamps. Eudora slid a slip of paper under the casserole dish before leaving. You're not alone. I tucked the folder into the safe, documented the time, and ate 2 bites of casserole until my hands stilled. My phone buzzed again, an unknown number. 10 o'clock still on? Back door? I stared at the clock, whispered, not today. By late afternoon, I had the house tightened down like a ship before a storm. Breakers labeled, space heaters unplugged, every phone charged and mirrored, the cameras blinked steady green. Cloud backups confirmed twice over. I placed a lantern in the hallway, left the overheads dark so no one outside could track my movements. My tools were lined on the counter, notebook, pen, house keys, USB copy of the footage, and an extra phone battery. The casserole Eudora left still warmed low on the stove. An innocent reason for me to linger in the kitchen if anyone asked. I told myself under my breath. We don't rush. We record. At 6:42, the phone lit up with an unfamiliar local number. I let it roll to voicemail. A man's voice came through, flat and efficient. 10 o'clock, back door, no lights. My stomach tightened, but my hand was steady as I saved the file and forwarded it to Sabine's secure inbox labeled Audio S11. 10 minutes later, the phone buzzed again. This time, a woman's voice, calm and clipped. We're set, Balthus. He's nervous. We push at 10. The name stuck. I wrote it in my notebook with the time and fragments from the caller ID. A radio ad hummed faint in the background, like they were parked just far enough away to keep their hands clean. I whispered, document, don't perform, and switched my phone in and out of airplane mode to reset the logs. I adjusted the back camera 2 degrees higher to catch faces instead of shoulders. Inside. I staged a motion-sensing chime to alert me to any movement at the door. On the second phone, I pre-dialed 911 and left the screen open. I texted Eudora a single dot. She answered with one word, understood. I set the TV to the right input, remote hidden under a placemat, already queued for tomorrow's proof. At 7:25, another call. This time from my bank's fraud department, the same number printed on the back of my card. Ma'am, we're verifying a transfer initiated online in your name. I asked for the details. The figure, the channel, it all matched the language from the insurance packet Melis had tried to slide across my table. My voice stayed level. I did not authorize. Freeze all transfers. Require in-person ID only. Add a passphrase. The rep agreed, flagged it as elder exploitation, and promised written confirmation to my email and Sabine's. I laid my card next to the phone screen and snapped a photo, timestamp proof that I called the real number. Not a trick line. I exhaled slow, nice try, not tonight. Sabine moved quick, emailing hold letters to the insurer, to the clerk's office, to the bank. I printed them, signed, and slid them into the binder under the camera's eye. I chained the back door, wedged the kitchen entry, checked the IR lens on the driveway cam. I sent Sabine one last line. Freezes in place, no contact to suspects, waiting. The pressure came soon after. Lowell texted at 8:12. "We can talk, Mama." I didn't answer. At 8:45, another number. "Paper needs ink tonight." I screenshotted it, filed it away. At 9:10, the porch cam caught a shadow crossing. No knock, just testing. I rehearsed the 3 phrases I would allow myself. "Not tonight." "Email my counsel." "This house is closed." I pressed a sticky note on the morning's packet. "Do not touch until counsel. Let the cameras catch it clear." By 9:30, I had cued the living room footage and laid 2 coasters at the Webbel, staging tomorrow's truth. The USB stayed in my pocket, the choir shawl draped over the chair like a quiet shield. At 9:58, the back cam lit up, 2 silhouettes near the fence, one checking a phone, the other pulling on gloves. My chime whispered once. I tapped a record on the second phone, heart steady, when the gloves appeared. I knew it was time to let the camera do the talking. I placed the lantern where it lit my face but left the rest of the room in soft shadow. The remote rested in my palm, thumb steady over the play button, outside. The porch cam showed 2 shapes at the fence line, one glancing at a phone, the other tugging gloves tight. My motion chime tapped once, a low whisper that kept me calm instead of rattled. I cracked the back door chain, a voice even as I spoke into the cold. "You came for paper. I brought you proof." Then I tapped play, and the living room filled with their own voices, clear as day. Dates, details, numbers. My house became the witness stand, and I stood as clerk of the record. I held my second phone up, capturing their reactions through the glass. I whispered to myself, "Silence is my lever. Evidence is my weight." On the screen, Milas's tone was clinical. "Loose wire near the bench. Dim the bulb by the stairs. She's old. She'll misstep." Lowell's answer cracked under guilt. "It's my mama. Milas." I let the footage roll, their words dripping back into their own ears. I stepped aside so the TV reflection fell across the glass, forcing them to watch themselves in real time. "This is a contemporaneous recording taken at 4:28 p.m. in my home, but I said, steady, every syllable sharp as a gavel. Lowell's muffled plea came through the door. "Mama, open up, we can talk." I didn't answer, just raised the volume. Miley's tried to talk over herself, voice high, desperate. I lifted my hand, not to hush her, but to let her recorded words bury her louder than I ever could. I drew 3 lines firm through the chain. "No entry tonight, pa. No signatures. All communication goes through counsel." I angled cam 1 for a clean shot of my face. Timestamp spoken into the air. 10:14 p.m. Porch presence to EOC. Parties identified. When Lowell asked for the folder, my palm rested on my robe pocket, the USB warm against my thigh. The originals were locked away. Untouchable. Secured, I told him, my back to the room. Never ceding my ground, I spoke facts as though reading church minutes. Then came the hammer. I held up the bank's freeze letter, bold date at the top, the insurer's hold notice, the county's title alert. Original deed and policy remain under my sole control. No accelerated benefits, no hidden riders, I said for the record. Sabine's voice chimed briefly from the speaker, crisp and steady. Counsel present, I placed the phone back down. Still recording, I repeated the boundary note I'd given that morning. No after-dark signatures, legal review only. Milas's hand twitched toward the knob. I closed the door another inch. Chain taut. "You cannot take what is not yours. The law agrees with me." She tried to pivot, sugared a threat in a breath. "We're family. We just want to help. Rates expire tonight," Lowell whispered. "I'm sorry." I didn't bite. "Apologies without change are only smoke." I repeated one phrase like a hymn. "Email my attorney." A third shadow moved near the alley. Taller, jacket zipped, porch cam tagged the moment. I slid the USB deeper into my pocket, eyes still on the reflection of their faces caught in the TV glow. The clip looped, their scheme replaying over and over, my house humming with their own confession. Finally, I froze the frame on the sketch they'd drawn, the diagram of my basement, their hands pointing, edges clear. "This is enough for tonight," I said. "Monday, 9 a.m. with counsel. You're on camera as you leave." I held the door long enough for the cam to catch them step away. silhouettes sliding off my porch. Motion chime pinged. I noted the time aloud. My text to Sabine was short. S9/S10 executed. Porch presence documented. When I turned from the door, the phone buzzed again. A new message flashed. Sunday, 8 a.m., basement, don't be late. My porch cam caught the alley's shadow slipping into the dark. Tall and fast, I whispered. They heard the house tell the truth, and still they want the basement. I woke before the furnace kicked on, my breath hanging in little clouds against the gray morning air. Last night's footage was still crawling its way into the cloud, steady as a tide. The USB copy sat zipped inside my robe pocket, pressed to my side like an anchor. I boiled water, sliced a piece of toast, and set myself at the kitchen table, where one could see every detail. The binder, the boundary note, my open notebook. I replayed those last seconds of the porch scene once. No more, no less. Just enough to mark the silhouettes and the timestamps burned into memory. Outside, the walkway glittered with thin ice. So I sprinkled de-icer, checked the storm door latch, and ran the chain back and forth to be sure it wouldn't catch. Into my phone's recorder. I left a voicemail for myself. Saturday, 10:14 p.m., porch presence, 10:18. Legal holds restated. Out loud. I told the silence. You don't chase arguments. You shore up truth. At 7:05, my phone buzzed. Lowell's name lit the screen with a message. Mama, can I come by alone? I made a mistake. I took a screenshot, archived it, then replied, front porch, 7:30, cameras on. He showed up barehanded in the cold, shoulders hunched like a boy scolded by his teacher. I stayed behind the storm door, chain set, my voice steady. Talk plain. He looked down, then said, She told me it was just paperwork. I cut him off. You knew enough to plan a fall. Say the part you know. His eyes welled. I don't want you hurt. Debt's on me. I asked only one question. Did you discuss a delay before calling 911? He nodded once. Ashamed. Cam 1 caught it all. I didn't hug him. I didn't offer comfort. You email Sabine today. You tell the truth in writing. You stand in daylight or you don't stand near me. He whispered. I'm sorry. My reply was ice. Sorry is a receipt, it's not a refund. His phone lit up. Mailus. He stared, then flipped it over, palms sweating. Can you pause the lawyer? Just till tomorrow? He asked. I shook my head. No more pausing. Counsel is the only way through. He admitted the sketch I captured was hers, not his, and there was another page. Then bring it to counsel, I said. He flinched like I'd asked him to carve out his own guilt. He backed down the steps, mumbling. I can't. I let him walk. Adult choices walk on their own feet. At 8:10, Sabine called. Her voice was calm steel. She had pulled records tying Mealy's to prior civil complaints in another state. Same tactics. Pressure on beneficiaries. Talk of accelerated benefits. The phrase, house in 60, preserved in text transcripts. Sabine laid out the next steps. Forward the excerpts to the bank's fraud investigator. Prepare a Monday statement for the Elder Crimes Unit. Secure an affidavit from Eudora. I wrote each item in my notebook where Cam 1 could see. Is Lowell safer if he tells the truth? I asked. Sabine didn't hesitate. Only if it's in writing today. I texted Eudora. Affidavit Monday? She wrote back. Yes, planner ready. She promised to keep her window chair today. The church chat sent out a citywide scam alert. I forwarded it to Sabine for the file. I gave Eudora access to my porch cam album. She replied with a thumbs up. Community wasn't gossip. It was cover. By 9. Another text buzzed in. Unknown sender. Monday's too late. We can fix it this morning. I archived. Screenshotted, ignored. Then Lowell again. She says you're confused. Please don't make this bigger. I answered only. Email my attorney. A sedan rolled by the house twice. Slow. I logged the plate fragments. At the sink, I said out loud for the record. I am not here to punish. I am here to protect. I restated my 3 rules. No signatures after dark. Counsel on every paper. Cameras on for every exchange. At 10:22, Sabine sent one more file. A trail tying Balthus Crane to a rented cleanup van. A pattern carved into paper. That same minute, Lowell's text popped. I sent the email. I typed one word back. Good. Then nothing more. Minutes ticked. The porch cam pinged again. This time a shadow lingered at my fence line, not passing by, just waiting. My house held its breath with me. The morning light told me everything. One heart might be bending, but another had come to break. I set the chair right at the top of the basement stairs, where both cameras overlapped and left no blind spots. The floodlight washed the stairwell but spared my eyes. The DVR blinked ready. The TV upstairs sat cued to the ugliest lines from last night, and the USB copy rested in my pocket like a heartbeat. On my phone, I had a 911 text drafted, every word lined up except my thumb. I clipped a flashlight to the banister, ran my hand along the rail, and taped a note to the inside door. Business with counsel only. Cameras on. That wasn't for them. It was for the record, I whispered to myself. You asked for Sunday at 8. You forgot this house has a voice. At 7:58, the knob twitched once. Footsteps creaked slow, breath fogging into the frame. Lowell's voice was soft, almost pleading. Milas's was sharp, clipped. Their coats shed frost as they stepped into the floodlight. I stayed at the threshold. Distance my armor. No signatures, I said, voice even. No basement. We'll talk upstairs with counsel tomorrow. Milas edged forward. I pointed at the camera dome. The light flared. She blinked hard but didn't stop. Lowell muttered, We should go. First sane thing he'd said in days. I counted in my head. 1, 2. Letting my breath fall into the rhythm of a hymn. Then it hit me. A quick, cruel pinch across my chest. I gripped the rail, steadying myself. The pain lasted only seconds, but it reminded me that my body wasn't invincible. I tapped the alert on my wrist, a silent ping logging the moment into the record. I lifted the second phone, camera angled to my own face. Due to chest pain, I will not approach the stairs, I said aloud. Any approach toward me will be considered a threat. The squeeze eased, but the choice remained. I would not move an inch closer. Milas snapped. She'll tumble on her own. Old people do. Then hotter, reckless. Just like Toledo. House in 60, cash in 30. The silence afterward was heavy. Her words swallowed whole by the microphones. Lowell flinched. Milas, stop! I shifted just enough for Cam 4 to capture her face clean. Calmly, I narrated, This is Sunday, 8:03 a.m. Parties present are stating intent and referencing prior conduct. She lunged toward the banister, teeth bared at the lens. I pressed send on the 911 draft. My voice didn't waver. Footage is live backed up. I am not alone. The knock rattled the whole frame of the house. Police, announce! The sound rolled down the hall like thunder. Basement landing, I called back. Upstairs, Eudora's voice answered. We're here. Sabine came through on speaker. Officers, the holds are in place, timestamps, prior state records, and a witness. Lowell sank to the stair. Head bowed. Milas spat words that cut like broken glass. I pointed toward the TV upstairs where their own sketch glared back. One officer nodded, already logging it into chain of evidence. No after-dark signatures. No acceleration rider. Counsel present, I recited. Each point a nail sealing the coffin. Outside. Balthus Crane was caught near the alley with gloves, a van, and a note scrawled with my address. Lowell muttered. I'll make a statement. My reply was sharp. Do it in writing. Milas flipped from syrup to steel, but her own confession had already been sealed by the red light on my cameras. I handed over the USB and CloudLink. Eudora signed a short witness note. Only then did I let go of the rail, my hand stiff and trembling. Months later, justice arrived without fanfare. Lowell took a plea. Milas faced a wall of charges, and Balthus found his name inked in another file. My deed never moved. My bank locks never lifted. On Tuesdays, I hosted a circle at my kitchen table. Neighbors, Eudora, even Sabine, sharing simple rules. Keep originals. Know your shutoffs, cameras on. Experience, I told them, is not just what happens, it's what you record. My ring rested warm against my skin, not as a trophy, but as an anchor. And when the phone rang one soft evening, a stranger's elder voice whispering, Miss Wynne, I think someone's trying to move my money. I set 2 chairs at the table, one for us, one for Truth,